You have gone to a sweet shop, asked for 10 pieces of rasgullas, costing 100 rupees. Okay. You did not ask for anything else. They gave you 10 pieces in a container and a bag, and you have pushed off. I presume there is no tax. Let me consider no tax now. I am just trying to convey you the concept of value. But say for example, had you told that no, give me this 10 pieces of rasgullas in a special container and make a special packing, then the shopkeeper would have charged you 20 rupees or 30 rupees extra. That does not increase the cost of the rasgullas per se. The basic cost of the goods was 100 rupees, but the packing cost was 30 rupees, 20 rupees, whatever the case may be. In the GST era, now let me tell you, in the GST era, the principal goods plus the packing charges plus the transportation charges plus the insurance charges, everything will get added up, minus discounts if any. We will see that. Minus discounts if any. On the net figure, GST will be applied. So one must know the concept of value, because the tax rate when we are talking about has to be applied on a value. Then only the tax can be collected, levied and collected. This is the 4 important pillars of GST. Okay? Let me now touch upon a very simple part on where. And I'll conclude in the next 5 to 10 minutes time. Where means the place of supply. This place of supply, this can be import into India, it can be export from India, it can be within India. If it is an import of goods, then you have to pay basic customs duty plus IGST. I will write over here what is IGST meaning. CGST, SGST, UTGST, IGST. CGST means Central Goods and Service Tax. SGST means State GST, State Goods and Service Tax. This is Union Territory GST, and this is Integrated Goods and Service Tax. This Integrated Goods and Service Tax per se is actually equal to CGST plus SGST. Just for your general understanding. So if you are importing goods, mind it, goods is tangible, then pay basic customs duty plus IGST. But if you are importing services, then only pay IGST. If you are exporting from India, then claim refund of GST paid. Why? Destination based consumption tax, please remember, all the exports are zero rated. You get the refund of GST if you have paid. If you have not paid, nothing like it. But if you have paid, 90% of the amount will come back to you in 7 days time, and the balance 10% will come back to you after authentication of the documents. This is what ease of doing business in India is going to get promoted further. Okay, import into India, so goods and services coming to within India. This can be within a state or a union territory. See, this I am adding it for the first time. The law is not yet framed, but the meeting was held of the GST Council, and they have agreed upon something which is known as UTGST, Union Territory GST. You must be knowing about the union territories in India. Within a state, if it is sold, technically it is termed as intra. And if it is sold from one state to another state, then that is known as inter. Intrastate, interstate. Okay? If it is intrastate, a very interesting facts. Interstate, then you charge CGST plus SGST. If it is intra-UT, within an union territory, then you charge CGST plus UTGST. What my point? So, within a state or within a union territory, that means if it is West Bengal, he is a supplier and he is a consumer. When he supplies the goods, he will charge CGST plus SGST. Be it in West Bengal or let's say this is Andaman. West Bengal is a state, Andaman is a union territory. Okay? But if you are in West Bengal, supplier, and the recipient is in Bihar, let's say Jharkhand, then you will charge IGST. What is IGST? As we told, a summation of CGST plus SGST. So, if it is from one state to another state, then it is IGST, which will be per se taken as CGST plus SGST. And this makes GST a very, very unique on its own, because as of now, India never had this type of a tax structure wherein tax will move along with the goods or services. Let me repeat it once again and then I'll give you a numerical example to prove it. If it is an export from India, then if you had paid GST, it will be claimed as a refund. You get the refund of GST, whatever you have paid. If it is an import into India from a place outside India, then check it. Is it goods or services? If it is goods, then you will be levied with basic customs duty plus IGST. Remember, customs duty is not subsumed under GST. Okay? So, basic customs duty plus IGST. But if you are importing services, which is intangible, you have to pay IGST. Come here. If it is within India, then within a state or union territory, if it is within a state, I give an example, West Bengal state or Andaman Union Territory. If the supplier and consumer are both in the same state, I repeat, supplier and consumer both in the same state, then the goods or services did not cross the state border. And since it does not cross the state border, intrastate or intra-UT, central GST plus SGST will be levied, or if it is within a UT, Union Territory, then central GST plus UT GST will be levied. And if it is from one state to another state, then IGST will be levied. IGST per se is equal to CGST plus SGST. I am sure by this time you must have had gathered a very important confusion in your mind, where the government is saying one nation, one tax, but I have written you over here 4 taxes. Yes or no? This is a definite confusion you have in your mind. Friends, it is one tax only. Only to show a transparency, the tax had been divided. What is the central's share and what is the state's share. Otherwise, it is only one GST getting classified on your tax invoice, and this is the portion which will be taken up by the central government and this is the portion which will be written by the state government. Okay? Because SGST portion is economics, but still you should know, SGST portion is to be written by the state. CGST will be taken by the central. I repeat once again, SGST will be written by the state or given back to the state. CGST will be retained by the center, but about 55% of the CGST collected from a particular state will be given back to that particular state. This is a policy between the center and the state. So, under GST, it becomes very, very important for the central government, even the state government, to know from which state this tax got collected. Because that GST component, the state's portion will go back to the state directly, but the central's portion, 55%, about 55% of that particular CGST portion will come back to the state. If it is West Bengal, it will come back to the state of West Bengal. And mind you, since it is a destination based consumption tax, wherever there is more consumption, wherever there is more population, there is a tendency that particular state will stand to gain more under GST. Just imagine, West Bengal has a population, official population of 9.85 crores. Unofficially maybe 10 point something or 11 crores. There is consumption. You eat, I eat, you have food, I have food, you have services, I have services, we all have services. We all consume food. Taxable, non-taxable. Depending upon the consumption of a particular state, the taxes will be collected in the particular state. Right? So, government stands gainer based on the consumption. Now, it does not mean the manufacturing states will not get more taxes. They will also get more taxes because they would be continuing manufacturing even under the GST era. And to get the manufacturing done, they require the workforce, they require the services to get consumed in that particular place. They will also start gaining. So, under GST era, it is one single tax, one nation, one tax, and everybody would stand to gain under the GST era. So, please don't get confused that there are 4 taxes, but the government is announcing one nation, one tax. Okay? Let me tell you something else to prove Again, why GST is going to be important for all of us? A comparative study. We talk about this one. Goods and services tax. What happens today? Let's say intrastate. I gave an example still once again. Cost in the pre-GST, post-GST. Cost 100, cost 100. Let's say excise duty at the rate 10% for simplicity, 110 plus let's say a VAT at the rate 10%. I am using the word say. This 10% is calculated on this one, this becomes 121. Tomorrow, in place of excise duty, there will be a CGST. I take it as 10% on 10 rupees. In place of VAT, there will be SGST. At the rate 10%, it will be again 10 rupees. It becomes 120. So the tax cost reduces by rupees 1. And if you look into the percentage of tax cost reduced is equal to 1 by 21 into 100, it's 4.74%. You would say, why 21? Check it. Here in this case the tax is 11 plus 10, 21 rupees. In this case the tax is 10 plus 10, 20 rupees. So 1 rupee came down from its original base of 21 into 100 is 4.74%. This is going to be the game changer for GST. What is if it is interstate? What happens today? In the pre-GST era, let's say the cost is 100 plus excise duty at the rate 10%, 110 plus CST at the rate let's say 2%. Say, friends, if you remember I told you out of the 4 major taxes, if it is from one state to another state, presently it is CST. Tomorrow it will be IGST. 2% will be calculated on this one 110, it becomes 102.12.20. Under the post GST era, the cost is 100. The excise duty, which will be taken as CGST, right? Let's say at the rate 10% is 110 plus SGST. SGST at the rate 10% is again 10. It becomes 120. You have a question therefore. Why have I put CGST and SGST? Okay. I should put what? I should put in a very simple way 100 plus IGST at the rate 20%. Just imagine, even if you sell within the state it is 120 and when you sell it outside the state it is 120. So GST is said to be one nation, one tax and one common economic market. Even if you sell, the tax component remains the same provided the value remains same. Then you would ask me a question therefore. Sir, this is 112.0 over 20 over here. But under GST era it will be 120. GST is not doing good for us. Anything which is sold from one state to another state, is it going to be costlier No friends, this will not be costly because there are certain restrictions today in taking tax credits. I cannot take a tax credit. Tax credit means if I paid a tax and I have sold the goods for tax, then whatever tax is paid, I get adjusted against the tax which is collected. I will show you once again over here. There are certain restrictions today in taking tax credits. Tomorrow, under GST era, there will be no restriction on taking the tax credits. Absolutely no restriction on taking the tax credits. So therefore, the person to whom I have sold it, he has paid me 120, true, but out of this 120, 100 is his cost and 20 rupees is his asset. Which asset is this? This is the tax asset. He can take the credit of these 20 rupees, which he cannot take the credit today. He can take the credit tomorrow. So today his cost remains 112.20, but tomorrow, though he paid me 120, his cost remains at 100 rupees. What is the reduction? You calculate, 12%. Is GST favorable? The answer is yes. Because the restrictions which we face today will be faded out, will be dispensed with, and there will be more ease of doing business in India under the GST era. And entire people in the value chain, manufacturer, supplier, retailer, wholesaler, whoever you are, each one will get a tax credit under the GST era. If you have paid tax, claim the tax credit under the GST era. This is where GST is going to be different. I am sure, friends, with many of these case studies can be placed and made more interesting, but we need to stop over here. Just a small little frame to discuss on you. What is there for GST? What or how GST can make a difference to your life? I have told you about the numericals, but what else? You must be wondering that you are a student of commerce or science or arts, and this person is talking something which is economics, something mathematics. No, it is going to affect one and all. You can be a person who is going to gain from GST. How? How you gain from GST? You can become a tax, let's say a GST tax compliant or a GST compliant accountant. You can become a GST compliant accountant. You need to know GST. I am not saying that you need to know 100% of GST. But the basic operational aspects of the law, if it is known to you, you can start earning from today. By helping your local businessman who want to pay tax but does not know how to pay tax. Mind you, they are not tax evaders. They do not know what is the law. You can help them. You can be a tax return preparer. This is TRP. You will be certified by whom? Certified by the Government of India. Not like that. You need to go and learn what is GST. You have to sit and give an exam, qualify an online examination to become a TRP, tax return preparer. So you get a government certificate. You can be a GST consultant. You can be an IT people, IT systems, because the entire GST is standing on the IT platform only. That's why Digital India has been stressed upon. GST compliant accountant, not a professional. Or you can be a GST consultant if you want to be a professional, or when you become a professional. You can be a TRP, even a graduate can become a TRP, tax return preparer. Why? I'll tell you. Our respected Revenue Secretary of the country, he mentioned that is a boy of 11 or 12, knowing computers, repeat, a boy of 11 or a student of 11 and 12, not a boy, not making any discrimination, sorry. A student of class 11 and 12, knowing computers, can file a GST return. You can file a GST return because it is online return, online submission. Very well said. You can file, but the question is, can you fill the return? Can you fill the return? How many times you think about you started filing a return or form, admission form or some other form, you made mistakes for getting admission in college or in school where your parents were not allowed to come in, you made mistakes because you never knew what to write and where to write. The intention of GST is that even a student of class 11 and 12 can file a return. I say, can you fill a return? Because you have to fill the return before filing, na? If you know how to fill the return, good. Else, you need to fill the return. To fill the return, you have to skill yourself. Know GST. Then only you can fill the return. So, if you can fill the return, now check. Fill, yes. File, yes. If this be so, then you can actually fill GST. Okay? You go on smiling. Only if you know how to fill the return, you can then file the return. And please don't get an excuse for this so many FEEL. You can actually understand the importance of GST. So friends, if you want to excel further, you have a way forward in front of you. Goods and services tax, which is not only for professionals, but it is for you and me. We all together can grow and help the nation in achieving the objective of making India, making our nation proud, and making the Indian economy the most richest economy economic power, super economic power by 2020 or maybe by 2025. Let us all join hands together to celebrate the incoming of GST, not by burning the crackers or distributing sweets, but skilling ourselves. Get yourself skilled, get yourself knowledgeable on the operational aspects of GST. This is going to change your life. God bless you all.